you just work hard, and your priority should be your family. Again, like the Italian mafia, the Catholic Italian mafia, family, family, family. You know, the rate of divorce is high. Not many people are getting married, and even if they get married, they don't have kids. And when they have kids, the dad runs away. What do you think is going to happen? We need more migrants. That's it. Not that we do, but that's the automatic response. And then, if you were bringing in more Polish migrants, that would have been fine, but because at least they have some traditional values. But no, that's not the case.
What about police force?
Privatized much. But that's the other thing. We at least had this until a few years ago, when everything was going woke at the start. The NHS went woke, schools, a few things. We had two things left. This was probably about 10 years ago. The police wasn't woke by then. They were starting to lose their quality of recruitment, but they were not really like this. And we're like, okay, at least, the police is still there. At least in the 90s, I remember the police in the 90s, like, all hardcore. But the armed forces, I was like, until a few years ago, the armed forces, like, okay, thank God we still have that. The armed forces went down. DEI. And I was like, okay, the last frontier, the last hope is MI5, MI6, GCHQ. The actual people running the show. And then they've started to put their pronouns on social media, and also have social media. Why do you have a social media account if you work for MI5? It's just embarrassing. So when that went down, and that's the thing, so the lack of the, let's just say, cultural Christian values, when that goes away, when it starts to affect the foundation of the nation, which is defense and policing, you're fucked, basically.
Yeah, it's just the youngsters keep flipping off now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Say again?
We're not live.
Yeah, you can say that, yeah. We won't get demonetized.
Yeah. Right, I used to be in the Royal Navy during 1981. I found out, I went down to Royal Theatre Show the other week, and I was talking to a sailor.
The interesting thing about, because we were talking about globalism and migration, for business it makes sense, because we created a society where, just go to uni, you don't need to be a farmer, and then we're like, who's going to do the farming stuff, helping, be the hand? Oh, well, that's just some migrants, or fruit picking, right? Fine, you found a solution, short-term plastic, get the migrants to come. Still got consequences. What now, when it comes to the armed forces and policing? Because the same approach is the reason that our young people don't even care enough to become police officers or foreigners to come into a country to question you. Why? Why do you want to come to a different country and join the armed forces? You must be a spy, or you must be mental. But that's the thing. I mean, there's been so you can't fix that. So as I said, if you created a society where everyone's gone to uni with lesbian dance theory degrees and they're going to pick fruits, fine. You found the solution. Get migrants to come and work. Fine. But you also created a situation with the fact that people don't want to become good people who used to be like, this is my duty to become police officer or soldier. You don't have that anymore because people don't care. What is the solution now? And genuinely, if I were in Parliament, and I don't want to be in Parliament, but if I was in Parliament, that's the one question I'll ask from the government. What is the solution, long term, and even now, for the basic defence of the country? And they have a solution. When we say one world government, at a very basic level, the EU have this EU army thing. And they're going to make it wider. And it's not even just NATO. It's going to be a new version of that, where all the armed forces will be merged, and what they're going to basically do, they're going to rely on the countries, the member states of that union, defense union, that still have those values. So basically, you're going to get like America and Poland and those countries carrying the rest of the members of that defense union. Yeah. So the new NATO or EU army or whatever, they will have the countries whose people care to join our forces. America still has that.
I disagree.
And then,
I disagree with you. That's not going to happen. The EU has 27 member nations. Yeah.
I didn't say EU army is going to happen. Yeah, I'm saying that's what they want.
Let's just say.
Yeah.
For example, you've got 20 odd different languages.
Yep.
You've got places like the Republic of Ireland, which are neutral, which won't go certain places.
Well, for now.
So they'll only defend Ireland itself. And doing a very bad job with that, with illegals going in. I mean, where is your command structure?
Well, so that version of the EU army is difficult to happen for the reasons you said, and that's why that's not going to happen. But they already have the EU army; they have the EU Defence Union, so they've done it in a more bureaucratic way.
But they still have problems with language.
No, but they're using English. The English is the default language for all the 27 member states.
French for a meeting, man.
French lost.
If you've got the conscripts out in the field,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily going to understand.
That's why they're not going to have one centralised command. They're still going to have their own version of commands regionally.
As soon as it kicks off,
Yeah.
there will be even more chaos.
Well, you could say the same about NATO, but it works for NATO. You got different countries with different languages.
There's a definitive command structure.
Yeah, well, when NATO has operations, it's centralised. So you got the Turkish soldiers, and also the others, and the Americans, going to, at the time, obviously, short term, Iraq. Their centralised command was communicating both with the Danish and the Turks and the Americans, because they will force them, because they will use the professional armies of those places, even though they have obviously forced conscriptions, like in Turkey. But when it comes to the front line, they're going to have to use those who speak English. But I know what I mean, that's still a problem. That's why that EU army thing, in a more fantasy way, that's why it still hasn't happened yet, because it's difficult. They have a bureaucratic version of it, which is stupid.
I mean, if you join the French Foreign Legion, you have to be able to speak French.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah. But this is the other reason that this globalization, generally speaking, and borderless world, is, as an idea, is not sustainable, because so far, globalism that we talk about has been happening because of the American empire. It's the American empire, the English language and everything like that. And ironically, it's the allies of America, including France, who are fighting against that. It's France who's been pushing for EU army. It's France who's been pushing for the European political union thing. And the EU wants to now compete with America, so they're not dependent on America's NATO, but they have no solution. Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. But so far, this world order globalism has been working because it's been under the umbrella of America. If you're not going to have America, or America goes down, or whatever happens, or gets divided, America is here and Europe is here with the rest of them, as you said, who's leading it? What language? What jurisdictions? What sort of values? So it's kind of ironic when you get the European Union fighting against America. They want to create the United States of Europe. Like, your whole existence is because we live under the American empire. The whole globalism that we see, literally straight after 44-45, because of America's help, was a reason that after the League of Nations, backed by America, European Community has interest to have one office in Europe to call. That's why America didn't want UK to leave the EU, because they just wanted to have one phone call, one number to call to deal with Europe. Then now we have to deal with Britain and the rest of Europe separately. America wanted things to be simplified. If you get rid of America, and if you have your own version, the whole thing's going to collapse. And this is why it's a big situation, because you kind of want to oppose the current approach to the world and the structure of the world, but you kind of don't want America to fully go down, because the replacement will be the likes of China. Not that China will win, because that's also not a sustainable country, it's going to implode eventually. But I think this is where I think we've been giving too much leeway to the Americans. Yeah, you can stay around, and they keep doing Wuhan.
We become complacent.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's no opposition really, because they know that we still need the American empire, or Anglo-American empire.
I hate when people sort of say the American empire. They have a history, so a lot of it is not good. But it all depends who's running the country.
Yeah, but also when I say empire, it's not an overt empire. It's a covert empire. It's not like the British Empire.
Yeah. So I believe that the puppets you have there at the moment are not really running anything.
Oh no.
Right? And Obama, he was being told and he was put into place. He didn't run anything.
No.
He might have had his ideas that he pushed.
Yeah.
But then Donald Trump comes along.
Yeah.
Who is not establishment and can't be bought off, right? And still has his patriotism for his country and love of his country, and that is why he's attacked left, right, and centre. Yeah.
I mean, the likes of Barack Obama and his husband, Mike, it's not even about them. And it's funny how, because now they're the veterans, former president, what he says is important. When Kamala became a candidate, everyone's waiting to see the Obama family. It's not, that's what they make us to think, like CNN and everybody else. They don't matter. But now, he's the veteran, he's got wisdom. It's not even him. When we say Obama has been running Biden's administration, it's not Obama himself. It's the people who ran Obama's administration who are now running Biden's administration. But I think that's what sometimes they want us to think, that they want us to talk about crazy things like that, because I've said this before on the channel, so that when something goes wrong, they could distract you with that person, like Nicola Sturgeon. Everything's Sturgeon's fault. Okay, now that we're done with it, you could throw her under the bus. Everything's fixed. Not really. Humzo came, same thing. And now Sweeney came, same thing. Because it's not really about Nicola Sturgeon himself. But they want you to just hate that person. It's the same with Sadiq Khan. They want you to keep attacking Sadiq personally, that, he's so powerful. It's not even about Sadiq, because they could just replace him with another Labour person. It's the same thing.
So do you think it matters whether it's Labour, Liberal or Conservative?
Well, to an extent. It's not fully controlled in that way. I think there's still, on paper, it's still possible for, let's just say, a Lib Dem or a Tory on paper, a Tory leader to come in with his people to change the whole thing, to change the uniparty structure, but no one's going to be even bothering to even try.
Well, we haven't had a Conservative government, have we?
Since 90, yeah, since 1990, yeah.
So it's just a name?
Yeah. Well,
maybe we should start the Common Sense part.
Common sense? No, because I'm very much against common sense. Common sense is not common.
No, we can't make it common again.
I'm also very elitist. I don't like the commons. I'm not a common. No, but yeah, I mean, yeah, there should be a. The thing is that when the right-wing people start a name for, also this is weird, they start to come up with a name for a right-wing party, all the right-wing names are so weird. And sometimes there could be an oxymoron or exaggeration. It's like the Freedom Party, it's a bit weird. Or, what else is it called? It's called,
Alternative UK.
Yeah, alternative, yeah, like reform, alternative, but that goes against, it's the opposite of conservatism. What are you reforming? I know what that means, but it goes against the basic concept of right-wing philosophy to come up with those words. Like the word Freedom Party, which some of the right-wing parties are called Freedom Party, like Netherlands, or reform, or alternative, or what else do we have? We have a number of names for right-wing parties around the world. All these names, some of them are fun, but they are literally the opposite of conservatism. But I know what they're trying to do, because they're saying the establishments are now liberals and reformists.
No, I think the names don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, that's the other
They've got no meaning anymore, right? You can call yourself whatever you want, right? Doesn't mean that's what you are, right?
Call me Kathy.
Or call me Shirley.
Call me Shirley. Yeah, that's true. No.
Maya, what do you think
I don't.
the views of this ordinary BRICS currency? Will it take off?
The what?
BRICS currency.
BRICS?
Yeah. It's really now Turkey's on.
Well, yeah. So I keep changing my approach to the way I think about them. So the first question should be, anybody, are you in favor of it or not? Some people say they're in favor of it. Don't be in favor of it. It's not a good idea. Just because you hate the dollar doesn't mean you should defend it.
Yeah.
But the confidence of the West, which one of you said complacency, it makes me question, is it a double bluff? It can't be complacency, it has to be confidence. It makes no sense why you're not panicking. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve and IMF and all these guys. They're allowing it to happen. It makes me think, well, first, it's not a sustainable system, because what they told the member states and the people, BRICS, first it was supposed to be 3 countries. I knew from day one it's not going to be. And they say, we're just going to go against the dollar and promote regional currencies.
Yeah.
That's not it. They're creating their own international EU. And because it's led by China mostly, and China is going to implode eventually, and the other member states don't really have anything, they're not going to be the superpower, fine. But how much damage are they going to cause us and the dollar empire?
BRICS won't cause any damage at all, for the simple reason that they most of the countries are complete despotic
Yeah, they're all going to implode eventually. Yeah.
and their currencies aren't convertible.
And then,
90% of world trade is done in US dollars,
yeah.
and
Well,
that is not going to change.
well, this makes me also think about why they're allowing Turkey to join.
Yeah.
Whereas, like when Gaddafi was going against the dollar at the time on his own, because he was just one person,
Gold back.
it's easy to bring him down. Yeah.
Turkey will not join the EU.
No, not you. We're talking about BRICS. So they're allowing him to do it, and Turkey is still one of us, even though they're not one of us. But we're forced to be one of us because of NATO. I think it's part of that. It's the.
Perhaps they want to cripple Turkey and then go and buy them.
Well, I don't think anybody should even. Turkey is the new Afghanistan. Was it Churchill or someone else said that Afghanistan is basically just don't bother. It's just trouble. It's always chaos. It's a desert of chaos, and no one can take over. Turkey is that now. Yeah, I think there's a long-term patience from the Western side, which is because they know not only that because it's led by China mostly, it's not sustainable, it's going to implode, and others as well. But for example, this unholy alliance triangle nonsense of Iran, Russia, China is not a thing, because in some areas it's Russia, Iran, and then sometimes it's Russia and China, and sometimes Iran and China. It's rare when it's the three of them together. It's unless it's against something very obvious against the West that they're together. Sometimes they're against each other. It's like Russia and China against Iran, but usually not against Iran. It's usually Iran is always used by the two as the pawn.
Yeah.
So either Russia and China against the other one, and Russia, Iran against China, trade-wise. So compared to what we have, what we call the Western world order since the 40s and 50s, we have differences, but we're all with each other. Canada, France, Britain, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, UK. We all have the same, well, not we as in the system, the government. They all believe in the same thing. They all have the same, there's no real argument. The only arguments will be, for example, when America has a president like Trump, Canada and France would say, ooh, this president is controversial. But the system itself, we're all together. The Western side, they're all together. They're all similar systems. Iran's system is still different. The China system, Russia's system is different to Iran's system. Not a good idea. It's not really that unified. Even if they try to do BRICS like the European Union, well, that's why European Union is also not going to work, because culturally, the Hungarians are very different to the Danish, and the French are different to the Portuguese. I mean, they all hate each other right now. The Greeks hate the Germans because of 2011, 2012.
Don't the French hate us?
I don't think they even bother because they know they're all hated. So yeah, it's all a facade.
Perhaps if Trump gets in, he'll frighten his going to reveal the alien spaceships.
Right, this time, I think first time round, the Western globalists were panicking about Trump. I mean, it's still some of them do. But this time round, it's the Eastern side that are panicking. Like, literally, Putin and President Xi would rather have Kamala Harris now. Because they wanted Trump 2016 because they thought he's an idiot. He's a newbie, we can control him. But now, they don't want Trump. Yeah, because he's unpredictable. Like, they can't tell what he's going to do. Whereas with established politicians, Biden, Obama, Kamala, Rishi Sunak, Starmer, the gangsters like Putin or President Xi, they're street smart. They have a guidebook. Okay, so if Biden's going to do that, we'll do this. It's easy. Yeah. Like, it's like chess. Like, they know exactly how. But Trump would say this, like, I don't know what to do, because he might press the red button. But he won't. Because no one can tell what he is. Some people call him warmonger, the lefties idiots, and then the right wingers call him anti-war isolationist. He's neither. He's pragmatic. He doesn't start wars, but he bombs Syria. He confuses you. Like, you can't tell where you stand with him, but that's why he's good.
He bombed the Russians, actually, didn't he?
Don't know about Russia.
Syria.
No.
Oh no, Syria, yeah. But yeah, well, it was Assad, but yeah, ally of Russia.
Do
Yeah.
you think you'll get re-elected?
I will give you the answer tomorrow, because tonight is the debate. Tonight is the debate. Everything's about the debate, because it's about how that goes. Not actually how that goes, but how the perception is going to be in the media.
Yeah.
So, if Trump does it well, because if he goes too Trump, he doesn't need to do too Trump. Just let her cackle and do whatever.
Biden didn't say
Yeah. But yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Where's the thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to religion briefly.
Uh-oh.
So, do you think that maybe in this country I mean, I grew up in the 80s and I had to drag my sorry ass to Sunday school every Sunday, but I think it's more, I think it's been sort of eroded. It's like business, commercialism, and progress. Shops used to shut early on a Thursday, they weren't even open on a Sunday.
Oh, no, sorry with that, no.
Yeah. Everybody went to church on a Sunday.
Yes.
Now,
well, this is the thing. So it's the urbanization of our countries. So the death of High Street goes hand in hand with the death of church. And not many people talk about it. Some people just focus on the death of High Street. And some people then would say, oh, church. It's the same problem. You have to talk about it at the same time. It's the commercialization of not for the sake of capitalism, but it's the accidental greed of corporatism. We're like, obviously it's in the interest of Primark and McDonald's to get more of you to go there rather than your local shop. You can't blame them. That is capitalism. But true capitalism is implemented by the government, not by force, because that's all one of capitalism. But capitalism is supposed to be the government who have to create an environment where the little man and a small business is able to compete. That off-license is able to compete with Sainsbury's. But we created an environment over-regulated and over-taxed. Oh, Sainsbury's can afford expensive lawyers and accountants. They can get away with any regulation. They push for regulations. It's the off-license that gets bust. And it's funny when the leftists and the Corbyn nutters, they go around protesting against, even like Davos and all these guys, saying, yeah, no, corporations don't want regulations, don't want taxation, we need to put more taxes on corporations. That's what they are proposing. They want more taxes and more regulation because they can pay it, or they can avoid paying it. Like the left, the actual traditional left, have been stupid enough to actually do more damage because they have been giving what Primark and McDonald's want. They've been saying, yeah, we need to tax them more. And they're like, yeah, go on. I'm going to move to Ireland. I don't care. And obviously the off-license has to pay for it. Or the local boutique shop. And you know, it's the same problem with the church example is more of a weird analogy would be the council community centres and the council-funded entities that you see, because it's funded by the council, it's subsidised, they still exist, no one goes in there, but the churches are empty. I don't necessarily want the government to fund the churches, but there's no push in our schools by teachers to say, if we are a Christian school, don't forget to go to church. If you are a Christian school, your job is to tell kids. Obviously, if you're not, then that's a whole different thing. But I went to a Church of England school, and it was the most degenerate school. It was terrible. And there was no discipline, there was no mention of any of the values. You actually get values from the Islamic schools, the wrong values, but still you still get some traditional values, at least from the Muslim schools.
Haven't they changed since you've allowed a man to marry, a woman to marry? Hasn't that what's changed people's ideas about church?
No, I think well, that sort of ultra-liberalism hasn't helped, but it was already starting in the 90s, the late 90s onwards. It was already, but and it's still what you say is in terms of as an analogy with ultra-liberalism. It all happened at the same time. Most of it is also because of mass migration meant in Europe and in the UK, it was different to America. So firstly, America is not an immigrant country. It's a country for settlers, people settled. But let's just call them immigrants. Everyone who went to America went primarily from European-ish countries, or initially also Spain and South American countries. And by that point, they were all Christian, or Christian values. And there were a specific type of people who left Europe. There were upper working class, lower middle classes, who were sick and tired of being told what to do by the European establishment. So by default, they were more religious anyway. So they all went to America. So that mass migration, it's not really because it was an empty land, they still integrated with each other. Whereas when you now instantly have, and it's not really just about the Muslims, I'm just talking about different cultures. And that includes the liberals from Berlin. If you have a bunch of liberals from Berlin, if you've been to Berlin, you know what sort of Germans they are. If they all come, it's the same problem as somebody would hear complain about the Islamic ghettos in Birmingham. It's the same problem because they also don't share the same values of self-discipline, have babies, get married, don't get divorced, basic stuff. The European, especially British mass migration multiculturalism has been too much of a mush. I mean, it's very difficult.
Don't you think that the death of the high street started when supermarkets started selling cookers, fridges, kettles, hardware, because everybody could go to the supermarket instead of going to separate shops.
Yeah, I mean,
They should never have allowed supermarkets to expand into other things
No,
like
so
food.
so this is the issue. So if you are pro-freedom, restricting is also anti-freedom. But there is another solution. So that is inevitable, part of human progress. When you get more opportunities and capitalism, business grows, customers are happy and the businesses are happy that they're selling, and the customers, it's like Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon. Everyone complains about it, or evil, but we buy things from Amazon. That's the modern version of when supermarkets grew, because of supply and demand. But instead of restricting, my solution is better, well, hopefully, it's old school free market capitalism. Remove restrictions from the competitors. Allow small businesses and small shops to compete. I've had so many conversations with local shops and off licenses where I'm like, so why can't you compete? What is your problem? Like, you're basically a shop for cigarettes. People come to you to just buy cigarettes. And then when they give me the list of the things that they have to deal with, these are the sort of things that Sainsbury's have to deal with, but Sainsbury's can't afford it. From business rates to all the boring restrictions, red tape. If you remove that, it's the same I would say about black cabs. Black cabs complaining about Uber. Instead of necessarily banning Uber, you just also make it more flexible for the black cabs. Don't make it so expensive and difficult for them to compete. And just remove the restrictions from the competitors. It's in the interest of Sainsbury's and Tesco's and Waitrose to create it's not a monopoly in that sense. We don't have monopolies, because monopoly as a definition is one entity. I mean, technically, we have pseudo-monopolies like Google, which is basically so big, and nobody talks about Google. Nobody sees Google as a threat, by the way. Everyone talks about Facebook, Meta, and even the other kind of Amazon. Everyone's fine with Google because it's so nice. It's just Google. It's a search engine. Google is a very scary company because they literally control all data. But you just have to help people to compete. And if you're not going to create that environment, banks is also a good example. Allow people to start small banks. You don't have to ban the big banks. That's it. I'm going to fix this and then get more drinks. And also, if anyone wants cigarettes, go for cigarettes.
Maya, I'm so surprised that none of us really mentioned about the demon. Our current Prime Minister. No one mentioned about him.
Yeah.
How do you see him in 6 months' time?
Well, the demon. I don't want to see the demon.
Do you think his position is tenable, or do you think he will be still in that position in 6 months' time?
Yeah, he has to piss off the left in order for him to go.
This is the thing.
And it's just about to start with today's vote and everything else.
Yeah, didn't 54 abstain on Labour's side or something?
53, 54, yeah. That's a good start, but it's not a real rebellion because they abstained. Only one Labour MP voted with the Tories. They're trying to trick it. But it will come a point. There will come a point, like because they're also going to be increasing tuition fees.
Yes.
Ironically, that's
no VAT.
Well, no, that too, but tuition fees is going to go up. Yeah, university fees are going to go up. The same Labour Party who fought against it, and they also introduced it. But even that's not going to do it. But that's the beginning. But once they start to, because they have to, when they're in government, what kills the left is government in this country. When Labour gets into government, they have to act as the establishment. They can't be this fun, socialist, rebellious opposition. Because that even the biased civil servants tell them, we don't have money, so you're going to have to make cuts. So all this stuff that Cameron and Osborne did and everybody hated, if Gordon Brown had won that election in 2010, he would have had to do the same thing anyway. And eventually, that will bring down any Labour government, because when the Tories do it, everybody expects the Tories to do that. Oh yeah, you're going to make cuts or whatever. When a socialist party does it, it's suicide. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're not leaving. I'm just going to go for a smoke. If anybody wants to join me.
You can smoke upstairs.
Yeah, we can go upstairs actually. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't forget your spots, yeah?
Yeah, that one.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
Just correct you on Davos. Davos is a really, really nice small town.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, so I lived in Switzerland for 14 years. Used to go skiing there sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
I have some nice, incredible parties.
Yeah, I know, I've been there once, yeah. I didn't party. I went outside the WF conference. That was funny. Yeah, to that same place to go.
It was nothing to do with WF, yeah. That's why I think some demonstrations.
Oh, yeah, there's a
demonstrated at Zurich on station.
Yeah.
And I used to see it as I got went home from work.
Can we go outside for a second? This is posh, isn't it? Oh right, okay.